Hello, everyone. I see we have a few people jumping in right now. So thank you for joining. We are going to give folks just a few more minutes, just 1 or 2 more minutes to join the call before we get rolling. But thank you all for being here. Really excited to get this going. So just give us a minute and we'll kick it off. All right. Well, it's 2 minutes after the hour. See, like we have a pretty good crew here, so we're gonna get rolling. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Andrew Morgan. I'm the VP of Operations here at GoTab. Um, for those of you who don't know me, my background is in restaurant operations, very much fine dining restaurants, high-level restaurants. Work for companies like Let Us Entertain You and Maple and Ash. And my background certainly had a lot to do with inventory, controlling food costs, and ultimately maximizing profits. And that's why we're all here to make money. As you know, I mean, GoTab's mission has always really focused on driving revenue for you in creative and innovative ways. Um, and a big part of driving that revenue, we understand, especially for concepts that are more focused on food and the restaurant side of things, is inventory, recipes, analyzing costs, understanding how you can make more money, how you can drive more to the bottom line, how you can be more efficient, and also how you can help your staff, deliver that consistency that great restaurants require day in and day out. Um, and so, as we were looking ahead at this problem and how to help you and other customers solve that, we were exploring ways to tackle this. And in the course of that, we met James and Matt from Opsi, and we're really super impressed with the work that they've done with what they've built with Opsi. And rather than GoTab going out and trying to do this on our own, we were just really kind of head over heels with what they were doing. So we're excited about what they've already built. We're excited about where we can take this together with Opsi and GoTab. This is just the start of the journey. So really excited to kick this off. This is our first intro to you and to the outside world of what we're doing with Opsi. So, I don't have a whole lot more to say on this other than I'm really looking forward to you learning about it, getting your hands on it, talking to Matt and James, and then taking it from there. So, with that, I'd like to pass this off to James and the Opsi team, who are going to go through a demo. We're going to talk about what the integration looks like. And then toward the end, we'll open up to you as always for any sort of questions and answers that you want to get. So without further ado, take it away, James.
Thanks, Andrew. Hi, I'm James Passafaro, the head of operations at Opsi and a co-founder. My background is substantially hospitality. I spent 20-ish years in kitchens, starting really young, working on the East Coast until I got to DC, where I worked for Michael Mina, and then moved west to continue working with Michael. I ended up becoming a corporate chef for him for emerging brands and new concepts, where I did a lot of restaurant openings, saw about 52 properties internationally between Dubai and Hawaii, and then did all the work leading up to opening. So any conceptual developments, food developments, team management, systems implementations across a lot of spectrums of business. So RMAs, owned properties, and partnerships with like Four Seasons, MGM properties. Post that, I moved into a role in Minneapolis at a restaurant called Spoon and Stable, where I was a CDC for about 4 years for Gavin Case and James Beard Award winning. Gavin had a rich history in New York with Danielle Boulud. So relatively upscale fine dining background for myself. And the reason Opsi came up is because as I was transitioning into my first executive chef role in San Francisco, I was drowning in the disorganization of what I would have expected a lot of tools to be kind of available to my workday. I really just wanted to make sure teams had access to information really quickly with phones because they were coming, they were transforming so quickly. So we ended up reaching out. Matt was a friend of mine that we were in high school together. We grew up together in a lot of ways. And Matt, sitting on the product side, helped kind of guide the technology and really form what was a really amorphous idea at the time into what it is today. As far as like why GoTab and Opsi, for us at Opsi, our goal is to really make sure that we're giving tools to operators to get the most out of their day and their teams and maximize their margins. A lot of that is soft, making sure that you have time and you're getting time back. So systems that are frictionless. And a lot of that is like hard numbers of how do you really just manage the controls that you have, which it comes to like COGS and labor. So we built a tool, and Matt will go over that and show you kind of how it all works. But when we started talking to Tim at GoTab and getting to meet his team and understanding what they're doing, the real value prop for us was the fact that GoTab is really not necessarily a POS in the sense of like a Toast or someone else out in the world. There's a lot of dynamic pieces to it. For us, the hardware is really interesting. The forward thinking on technology and the sophistication on the back end is really interesting for us, and we're really excited to continue building. And our first pass integration we are super pleased with, and there's many more passes to what Andrew is saying. Is this is really just the first of the iterations that we plan on working towards. But the ultimate vision for both teams was how do we just make operators more successful, make them more money, make everything more frictionless, both on the guest experience and on the team experience, which ultimately gives you as the operators time back to focus on revenue driving opportunities opposed to the minutia of paper or really managing all the stuff that kind of bogs you down in the day to day. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Matt to kind of introduce himself and then take us through the demo.
Awesome. Thank you, James. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. So as James noted, I'll echo it. My background stems in mostly technology and product management. However, I have worked at restaurants. I have chefs in the family as well. But to echo James, I'm really excited about this partnership between GoTab and Opsi. James and I feel this is a really great opportunity to continue growing Opsi the way we want to see it grow. And one of the important elements I want to note about this particular acquisition of Opsi and partnership is Opsi will continue to be a standalone product and offering, which is really important to James and I. So Opsi will continue to integrate into other solutions. But with that, I know you all want to see the product, so let's kind of just dive in here and jump into the Opsi product. And I'll give a demo, and then I'll show a little bit about the Opsi and GoTab integration, and then we'll do a Q&A as well. So let me share. Andrew, give me a thumbs up just to make sure we can all see this of the Opsi screen. Perfect. Thank you very much. So this is Opsi. We're looking at Opsi on a computer. The beautiful thing about Opsi is we are very mobile friendly. So we built Opsi mobile first because we recognize that most of the individuals that are going to be using Opsi are going to be on a phone or a tablet. So all the features and functionalities you see as I walk through Opsi today are available on a phone or tablet. There's no feature loss between devices. So very mobile friendly. We have apps in the Android store, the Google Play Store, and also the iOS store as well. So pretty much any device you can use Opsi on. And that was very important to us as we built it out. So what you see here is, let's start with recipes. I think that's the backbone of everything we're doing and everyone here is doing. So we'll start with the recipes view here. On the left-hand panel here, we have categories. You can always create any number of categories and organize your recipes into those various categories. You can also archive recipes and make them inactive if they're seasonal or if you no longer need them, but you can pretty much build your entire recipe book here and house it here, including old recipes. And I'm just going to jump right in and click on a recipe. Let's jump into the Royale with cheese. So this is what a recipe card looks like on a computer. All the pertinent information about a recipe that you'd like to see, not only for yourself, maybe as an operator or an owner, but for your team. And that's, I think, another thing that helps Opsi stand out from a lot of other platforms out there is we're very training centric. It's not just looking at your financial data or COGS and tracking that information, but it's also for your team to access and your team to be able to see all the important information about these recipes for training purposes. For example, seeing all the prep steps and prep instructions or delivery verbiage, beverage pairings, markings, what are the ingredients, what are the allergies, all this information is available for your team to access and see from a phone, from a tablet, however you see best for your operation to manage. So a few information pieces we'll go over here. So the name of the recipe, when it was last modified, and by who. And what's cool about this is you can actually click this and see history of all the recipe changes. So you actually have an audit log of all the changes that are happening on each individual recipe, who changed it at what date and time. So you can always track the changes of your recipes. Beneath that, your cover photos or your beauty shots, if you will, photos, videos, you can slideshow between them if there are multiple as well. And then beneath that, all of your ingredients. Your ingredients can be items. Those are your items you purchase, like burger or your beef, ground beef, onions, tomatoes, etc. And then, of course, your component recipes. We call them component recipes, but those are essentially your sub recipes, batch recipes, prep recipes. And you'll see here this actual secret sauce is a component recipe. And I can actually click that and jump into that component recipe and see the details about that recipe. But I'll go back to the Royale with cheese here. On the right-hand panel, we have more information about the recipe, like yields, prep instructions. And like I noted, what's cool about prep instructions is you can create prep steps with videos or photos. So I can jump into a slideshow about each prep step and see how to complete this particular recipe based on photos and video training. Notes, allergies, of course, very important. And we also included fields for front of the house training, like menu wording, delivery verbiage, beverage pairing markings. All these fields are available for you to utilize and for your team to utilize as well. Price on menu. So if you're a GoTab customer and you're integrated with GoTab, the price on menu will pull directly from GoTab. And then cost of recipe. So you can actually see here this recipe is costing. This is based off purchased product data, and which I'll jump into in a moment, but you can see food cost percentage, profit, per yield costs as well. I can actually click on this costing pop over and see the breakdown of the cost of this particular recipe. And I'll jump to that in a moment, but before I do, a couple other quick features here I want to highlight. Scaling recipes, you could do that in multiple different ways. Click this little scale icon, put in a number, and scale either up or down. You'll notice the yield scales, all the individual ingredients scale, and also the cost of the recipe scales as well. So a really easy, quick way to scale your recipe. Another way you can do is by a yield. So your team members can just jump in, click on any one of these yields, say instead of 1 burger, I want it to be 15 burgers. What does that get me? Or what do I need to prep with? And here are all the amounts that have changed. The last way that you can scale is actually clicking on an individual ingredient. So let's say I have 100 ounces of burger patty on hand. What can that get me? Give me about 16 servings. So really cool way to scale your recipes up or down. And then we also have a built-in nutrition function as well. So I'll just click on this little Apple icon, which is our nutrition feature. So you can actually map your items to USDA food items. So you can find a USDA equivalent, map it to that item, and then pull down all the caloric and nutrient details directly from the USDA item and have that applied to your recipe to quickly build out a nutrition label. And you'll notice with these labels, we actually do show all the ingredients listed from most used to least used, as well as all your allergies as it pertains to that recipe as well. So really cool way to build out nutrition labels. A lot of our partners like to use this. Some actually do print out the labels and put them on products. Others just like to use it for training and knowledge purposes. But it's a really cool way to build out nutrition labels. And you can also, if you don't want to map to a USDA equivalent, you can also add in custom nutrition. So you can actually enter those amounts, like the calories and zinc or whatever you want to add. You can add those in custom as well if you prefer. So really robust recipe features here. You can always, of course, print your recipes and still have soft copies. If you want to have soft copies on hand, you can always do that as well. Some of the other recipe features, filtering recipes, this is very important. It's very useful. Filtering recipes by allergies. Your team can come in here and say, show me all of the recipes with a milk allergy. And there they are. Or alternatively, show me all the recipes that have a particular ingredient, let's say apple cider vinegar. And here are those recipes with apple cider vinegar. So really cool filtering functions you could do on Opsi. And we also have a recipe knowledge export tool. So this is a really cool way to kind of export a menu matrix, if you will, where you essentially go in and you choose all the various fields of recipe information you want to export, and you determine which fields those are. You can choose to not include ingredient quantities, units, and prep if you kind of want to hide that from some of your team members, as well as costing the cost of the recipes. And then you could choose entire categories or individual recipes, and then hit submit, and this will generate an Excel sheet with a nice consolidated menu matrix with as many recipes on per page as we can fit. So a lot of cool features just pertaining to recipes. But I know a lot of you are probably really interested in this costing piece. So how does this costing piece work? So effectively, we do invoice processing. So you could send us your invoices, and we will process that invoice data, the top level invoice information, and all the line item information, including packaging units and all that. And then we create items on your account from that, and you can then use those items in your recipes and start getting your recipe costs. You'll also use those items when you're running inventory as well. So that's our preferred method to run your costs, and is effectively just send us your invoices and we'll process them for you and build out all your items. When those items will have the purchasing information to power your recipe costs and your inventory costs as well. You can also do this manually if you'd like. You can always import your vendor information as well and run that manually, but the most accurate and up-to-date method we like to recommend is actually just sending us your invoices, and we'll do the heavy lifting for you. And let me jump over to the item section here. I'll actually go to vendors. So you can see as we start processing your invoices, we'll build out your vendors, the vendor items that come through those invoices as well. And all that will live on your account. You can access that, manage that, as well as send purchase orders if you'd like to. So on Opsi, I'll just go to Opsi Goods here, this vendor. You can actually submit purchase orders through Opsi as well if you wish. So you can go through and say, I want to order 5 jars of this and 2 packs of this and 1 case of this, and then put it into your cart and then submit the order. You could choose to add additional message to the vendor pertaining just to this order. You could choose a preferred delivery date as well, and then you could send that order out. And now you can track that order through Opsi as well. Now that order is submitted, the vendor will receive that information. They can mark it as received, so you know, okay, it's received, it's in the works. And then once it's delivered, you can mark it as delivered and input the actual price upon delivery as well. So that's another method to keep your costs up to date, is if you're actually putting purchase orders through Opsi and managing it through Opsi as well. And then because of the invoice processing, we have all your items in here, you're running recipe costs, you can start running your inventory. So we tried to build inventory as simple as possible. We tried to build our interface for all the features to look as simple and manageable as possible. But effectively how this works is you would first build out a guide. So you build out your monthly inventory guide, which is effectively your template. And let's say this guide is our monthly inventory for food. And then you add your sections. So your sections are typically maybe your storage areas where your inventory items live. So I'll say this is my dry storage, and I'll add another section and say this is my walk-in. And then I can start adding items to these sections. So I can do that in bulk by categories, so by your GLs, or individually. You can also add recipes. So you can, of course, take inventory of your recipes as well. So I'm going to choose dairy, just so you can see how you can start quickly adding items into these sections. So these are all my dairy items. I can start defining what are the count units I want to use when I'm taking inventory. I can drag and drop to rearrange these items for shelf to sheet ordering. And effectively just really quickly build out my inventory guides and then start taking inventory. Another thing you do is select categories that you want to watch, like your specific GL categories or counting categories. For example, if I select dairy, now I'm watching that dairy category. So anytime new dairy vendor items come through, they'll get added to this inventory sheet. So once you build out these guides, you can start taking inventory. So I'll go to my count sheets and I'll just show you real quick. You can just take inventory, choose the guide that you've created that you want to take inventory against, and then the date that you're taking inventory. And now you'll see a similar view where you'll see a list of your sections, and you can just jump in and then start taking your inventory counts. So you could do this on a phone, a tablet, a computer if you'd like. But what's great about this is even if you go offline, it saves every 60 seconds. So once you come back online, those saves or that information will sync, and you'll be back up and running. So you can still take counts when you go offline as well if you go to a walk-in and lose connection. But you can effectively go through and start running all your inventory counts. You can change inventory units on the fly if you have different inventory units that you want to change to as well. If you decide to change the unit, you could do that. You could also add items in on the fly too. If I wanted to add a recipe or a separate item on the fly, I could do that as well. And I could save and exit and save this as a draft, and I could come back to it later or have another team member come back to it later, or save it and mark complete. And then from here, once it's completed, I can export it. I can export it a few different ways by category. So category level with all your items underneath each category. And then of course, category totals, same thing except by vendor, and then by shelf to sheet. So that would just be exactly how your guide is set up. So we've built what we feel is a really intuitive and simple way to go about running inventory, taking inventory. And you can also track your waste as well. If you want to input a waste, your waste in here, we'll track that information as well. Just to be good on time here, we do have more to cover. So I'm going to actually jump to task lists now. This is really exciting for us to talk about. We love talking about task lists. I think it's a feature that really separates Opsi from a lot of other solutions and systems, is that we have this fully baked in right next to your recipes, right next to your inventory, right next to your menu costing. So task lists, we've built it so it's whole house inclusive. You could build lists that are managers opening lists. You could build lists that are food prep specific lists. For example, I've got this managers opening list here. And I can't check these off until I hit start list. So we have a lot of features built in where you can track how long it takes to complete a list or certain response types, which I'll show you. So now that I've hit start list, I can actually start checking these tasks off the list. And some of these actually have response types. So we go even further and allow you to define response types on tasks. So effectively, that's how do you want the user to respond to it. We've got a lot of options like numerical only, which is this kitchen thermostat example. So 70 degrees Fahrenheit. We have others like taking count of the register, again, another numerical only response, $250, but we actually noted that they have to respond with a signature because of how important this task is. So we have a built-in signature feature here that you can set on task as well. This task restroom conditions is an example of single select optionality. So we have single select optionality, multi-select optionality, user select. So I'll just say clean and stocked for this particular task. I'll go back up here to the cleaning list. This is just an example of how you can actually have subtasks. So you can create a parent task, if you will, and have subtasks beneath that as well. So if I check all these subtasks off now that parent is completed, and you also notice every task does show you who completed it at what date and time. And you'll also notice that each task has a comment function. So you can actually comment on any task on any particular day and start a conversation around that task if there's issues, for example. Restocking the liquor at the bar. I created this task as an example to show you can actually set supporting descriptions and media. So for example, please refer to how this photo looks for how the stocked bar should look when you're stocking it. And so the user could just tap on this, see the photo of how the stocked bar should look. And then what's cool about this task is they actually can't submit it until they submit a photo or video proof of completion. So once they submit a photo or video from their phone or the tablet, they can then submit the task to complete it. I have another single select optionality task here, but what I want to draw attention to with this one is I'm going to select that the equipment is missing or faulty during my fire and safety equipment check. And once I hit submit, you'll notice I'm prompted with more response types. So you can actually create conditions on your tasks that state if the user selects this response or says this, prompt them with more things to do or more responses that they're required before completing the task. So in this example, I'm just gonna say the immersion blender broke. And then is this an emergency? I'll say yes. And you'll notice now it's assigned to me because I set a condition that if this task is chosen as yes, then actually assign it to me. So we have even more options where not just a condition can flag another response, but you can also flag it as an issue or assign the task to someone else. Daily specials prep is an example of multi-select optionality you could do on tasks. Was a line upheld? Yes, no optionality, which you saw, and that triggers another response type, but this time it's optional, so you can set optional response types as well. Who received orders today? I'll just say me. So you can kind of start seeing how you can build out pretty much any type of task list, operational task list with these types of features and functionalities. I'm just going to hit submit list on this now, and then I'm going to go back and then quickly go to one of our food prep lists. So this is our aim production example list. In here, I have a few categories: vegetables, fruits, sauces. These can be stations, however you prefer to set up your food or beverage prep list. And then in vegetables, you can see I actually have all these tasks here for vegetable prep. And you'll notice what's different about these tasks is you can actually designate a unit of measure. So this is pounds, inches, cups. So you can set units of measurement to these food prep specific tasks. And then you can actually set par counts on these. So that way, when you say how much you have on hand, it'll automatically put in how much you need to prep. So this is how these tasks that are food and beverage specific differ from your standard operational tasks. We're pretty much built out a mechanism so you can digitize your clipboard prep lists with on-hand count, prep count, units of measure, all that. And you still have some of the same functionalities where you can, set descriptions and supporting photos and videos on these particular tasks for training purposes. And you can also link tasks to recipes so they can view the recipe directly from the task itself. So we've built out what we feel is a really strong task list feature for your entire operation that you can utilize. Every day is a new list, so depending upon how you schedule out your tasks, every day will be new lists. You can define which list you want your users to see. So we have roles implemented where it's role based, so only certain users will see certain lists based on their roles. So there's a lot of functionalities on our task list side, and you can assign too. You can bulk assign tasks on each individual day as well. And what's great about Opsi is all these features feed to the insights. So on the insight side, you'll notice here I'm looking at my task list insights for today. You'll notice here's that manager's opening list that we just completed together. It took me 3 minutes and 30 seconds and completed it at this time. And I can actually click on this list, see even more information, like each task down the left-hand side, all the responses down the middle, including signatures, if issues were triggered, if there are any photos or videos that were submitted for proof of completion, they would also appear here. Down to the minute of each task being completed, who was assigned to the list, who submitted it, all that information is available here. You can export this information into PDFs. And we have a bunch of other insights on task lists like task overviews, task comments, issues. So you see here's that one issue that got triggered today. And you could do a span. So I could go back and say from January 1st to March 31st and kind of do an audit of all the issues that I've triggered in that quarter and kind of see what I need to work on with my team. So we have a lot of cool insights on the task list side. And I did skip over one feature, that's team logs. So we actually have a team log feature here where you can kind of digitize your logbook. In this example, I have this log guide we call that contains a few log entries for my managers. So they'll come in at the end of each day or during the day and put in their log entries. We know the immersion blender broke this morning, and they can start going through and entering all their entries. And then once they're done, review it and then submit it. And then when they submit it, that log guide will be submitted for the day. And actually any emails associated to that log guide for you as an operator or owner, you'll receive an email overview of those log entries. So we actually built out another feature specific to managing log entries as well, or a logbook. Also on the insights, you have menus, which I'll touch on in a second, but recipe information. So here's like a recipe cost summary overview, how my recipes are doing, profit, food cost percentage, margins. This is disconnected from POS information. This would be if you didn't have a POS integration, kind of what you'd see. There's no sales data here, but I will show you in a moment what it looks like with POS information. But you could track recipe cost summary reports, recipe cost activity. So this is a cool one. This will actually track your recipe costs over that particular date range that you're defining. So let me have this load here. I'll choose January. We have this pickled carrot coins. You'll see the initial cost 68 cents, latest is 84 cents. So there's a 16-cent change difference. What was that? You can actually click in and see that the honey was the reason. The honey went up. So you can actually jump in and see your recipe costs over time, how they're fluctuating, what's causing that fluctuation, and also on the item side too. So you can see your individual items, how are they changing over time, and what is the driving factor, how are they changing. So the sherry vinegar actually went down in cost. It started as $30.85, now it's $29.98 a bottle. So you can start tracking all this information from Opsi as well. On the inventory side, I'm actually going to change my view here. On the inventory side, some insights you can see are like actual versus theoretical on hand. So this would be if you're actually sending us your invoice data, we're capturing that invoice data, and you actually have a POS integrated. In this scenario, it would be GoTab. So you got your beginning inventory plus your purchases minus your ending inventory. And then you'll actually get your theoretical usage, your actual usage. So we will pull down sales data from your POS and utilize that for this reporting here. And then you can track the variance between that. So I know this is a very important reporting that a lot of customers are interested in, is this AVT report. And then we do have a theoretical on-hand report as well. So if you wanted to track, let me just go to March here. If you want to track how much you theoretically have on hand, you could do that by beginning inventory plus purchases minus sales. Then you'll be able to track how well you're doing on inventory if you want to take a glance at what your inventory is currently looking like. So how does this all play in with GoTab plus Opsi? Let me actually change my screen here and go to a different view.
And
now.
Matt, while you're doing that, we have a couple of questions. If you wouldn't mind, is it okay to jump in with questions?
Sure.
One question was, is there a way to transfer items such as prepped items, quote unquote, salad dressing from one restaurant location to another? So maybe talk about how you're...
Yeah, we are working on transfers. Yeah. So we're working on two features right now. One is transferring of items and one is a commissary feature. So we anticipate that to be completed probably towards the end of April now, beginning of May. But yes, that is in our pipeline.
And you work pretty well with multi-locations.
Oh, absolutely. So we built out Opsi to be very multi-location friendly. Basically, however your operation runs, we can accommodate it. So we have customers who set up like an HQ account, and then from that HQ account, if they're a single concept, they can share all those recipes that are built and managed on the HQ account, as well as task lists and other information, and share that down directly to the other location accounts. So that's an example of a multi-unit single concept. We also run, of course, accommodate multi-concept, multi-unit. So we're very multi-unit friendly in that regard.
Awesome. We can jump into the integrations. There's a couple more questions, but they can probably wait until after the integration discussion.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm just pulling up this account. The reason I pulled up this account is because this is actually connected to a GoTab account. So we just launched this account, and the recipes you see here are actually directly pulled from GoTab products. So when we launch from your GoTab account into an Opsi account, we actually are able to have you choose which product categories you want to pull over into GoTab, and whichever ones you select, we actually turn your products into recipes. So if I actually go to the menus view here, you'll see here's this GoTab menu that we've automatically created from your GoTab products. So these were all created into recipes for you, and you can now track your menu reporting and insights immediately from this information. So if I go back to recipes here, we basically built a foundation for you of what your recipes are. So then you can then start sending us your invoices. We'll start building out items for you, and then you can start building out your recipes with those items and start doing all your recipe costs. You can, of course, start that before you send us your recipe, or sorry, your invoices as well. You can start building out your recipe information as well. For example, like you see, if I click on the pretzels here, we pulled in as much information we can from GoTab, except the ingredients, of course. So you have to start building out the ingredients in your recipes, but we can start building out what those items are that you're going to use as ingredients from your invoice data. And then you're off to the races with doing your recipe cost and then, of course, your inventory. So what's really cool about this integration is, one, as soon as you launch to an Opsi account, we're going to start building your foundation of recipes for you, which you can then start to create categories for, start organizing them, and then start running your recipe costs. The other cool element of this is how once we do link up your GoTab account to an Opsi account, we immediately start pulling down all that sales information as it pertains to each menu item. So this Bavarian pretzels is already mapped to that POS menu item. We already know the sales data for that menu item. So in your reporting and insights, we already are tracking that information. Additionally, on the POS side or KDS side, you can come in and start seeing those recipes on the POS or KDS. So I can come in here and see the fried chicken sando and then click the recipe tab or recipe button. And now I'm actually seeing that recipe directly on the POS or KDS with all the important details for the particular team member looking at it. There's a photo, of course, all the ingredients listed here, the servings amount or yields, allergy information, and we got menu wording, delivery verbiage, beverage pairings, markings. So all that important information you can now immediately pull up on your POS or KDS to view it on the hardware itself. And then coming back to here, so once you start getting your Opsi account propped up, you have a foundation of recipes. Send us your invoice data. We'll start building items for you. Now you're adding ingredients to your recipe. Start doing your recipe costing. You start creating inventory guides and start running inventory. You can start building out task lists and running your tasks. And again, that all feeds into your insights. So here's a menu insights report. We see how the mac and cheese, the salsa, the bee's knees cocktail, how all this is doing. Our food cost percentage, our margins, our revenues, our profit, percentage of sales. So all that data starts funneling in to Opsi, and we're tracking it, displaying it, showing it for you so you can track that information here. How your menu is doing, so your menu performance over a charted experience here, and then items by popularity. So you can really start diving deeper into your menu items and your food costs on Opsi as well. And this is just our first iteration of the GoTab integration, where you're now turning your menu items into recipes. Those recipes are then are now visible on the POS themselves or the KDS. And then we're actually pulling in all that sales data and helping you utilize that for your insights and just general knowledge that you're looking to better your operational finances. So James, was there anything in particular you feel I may have missed that I should touch on before we jump into a Q&A?
No, I just want to kind of like bookend what Matt's talking about here is like the intention from an operator's perspective is to continue consolidation and create frictionless process. With the GoTab integration, obviously the menu mapping and the POS mapping creates a frictionless integration to your existing POS. But additionally, with the auxiliary tools of like the task list management, inventory solutions, the team communication features that we have is really just to, again, bring things in that you might be doing with other point solutions over time. We can always step function things, but the idea is like less logins, better your life. We just want to have you have less passwords, less logins, less apps on your phone.
Yes, exactly. And one point I want to get to as well, I'm going to share back to our slides, is we do have an offer for existing GoTab customers, and that is a 90-day complimentary. So pretty much 3 months free if you're an existing GoTab customer and want to launch it to an Opsi account. You get all the features we just covered today. And one of the features James noted was actually team chats that I forgot to touch on. We do have an internal chat function, so you can chat with your team and kind of consolidate all your communication into Opsi as well. So, you know, all the features you just saw in this demo, if you sign up with Opsi, you'll get 3 months free as well. So how can you reach out to us? We'll do Q&A. We'll do a Q&A now, but if you're interested in any of this, you can always reach out to myself or James. Our emails are on the screen now, about your interest in launching an Opsi account. We like to do a demo. I know we kind of just did a demo here, but we like to still jump on a call with you, understand your operational needs, and decide you know, what features are best for your operation, what you like to utilize and focus on most. That helps us, especially during the onboarding process, so we can focus on what matters most to you first and foremost. So let's just jump into any other questions we have before we jump off for today.
Yeah, we have a few. One is, do you only integrate with GoTab?
No, that is the beauty of Opsi, is we are going to continue to be a standalone solution. So in the POS world, we actually do integrate with Toast and still manage that integration. We're going to integrate with other POSs down the line as well. So no, we integrate with other invoice processing solutions as well. So we like to be very open-minded and continue to be a standalone offering just under the GoTab umbrella.
Cool. The next question is, can you add sales from other areas of operation that are not within GoTab? For example, reservations, sales.
At the moment, no, we don't have any reservation integrations or method to import that data. But it's a good topic. We actually talk about it a lot internally, especially on the GoTab side as well. So I would expect that to be in the pipeline fairly soon.
A couple more. How does it manage dealing with modifiers in GoTab for menu items? This might be a little bit too technical, but I'll put it out there.
Yeah, so if you're on GoTab, you'd have to upgrade to the new options group. So you'd have to update your GoTab side if you're not already to the new options feature. And once you're migrated to that, you could then map your options or modifiers to either recipes or items. So if it's like a bottled beer, you could just have an item for a bottled beer and you map that to the item, or you can map a modifier to an entire recipe, like if it's a side salad or side fries. And we track all that information as far as sales go as well. So like when we're decrementing for on hand, theoretical on hand and insights like that, yeah, we still track all the sales from the modifiers as well.
Great. William, we love this question. How does this compare to XtraChef from Toast? What inventory software does this closely measure against? So
that's a great question. James, you want to take that one or you want me to take it?
Yeah, I can. You know, from comparison Opsi to Toast and XtraChef, we've personally found through our experiences and kind of doing onboarding, and even my experience with the restaurant, is that the integration between XtraChef and Toast isn't the tightest. The data syncing is a little off from what's reporting on the Toast side versus the XtraChef side. Comparatively, we'll just call it plain, like end of day, like these tools are all effectively the same. Food cost is food cost. We're not changing the way the math is done because we can't. But again, definably for XtraChef versus Opsi is the experience is going to be better. You have dedicated apps on your own devices to manage all these tools. And it also isn't just a COGS control tool. Pointing back to what Matt was talking about earlier, is like for all operators here, you are all very well aware of the fact that these pieces of information don't just affect your COGS, but they also touch many parts of your restaurant, whether it's training front of house team, food production elements, and front of house training. We want you to, again, manage all those same systems that will be touching the rest of your team, but all in one place and have a lot of outcomes. So even though it's one input that might be driving on the COGS side, there's many outputs where it does reach across your whole restaurant to help training. So I would say from Toast to XtraChef, GoTab, and Opsi is that Opsi is really at its core a tool that allows your team to be better and work more quickly with the information that you give them, opposed to just always having it have to be just a COGS element, which XtraChef really is COGS control only solution.
Yeah, and James, I just want to echo those points. You know, for me, coming from my perspective as a front of the house operator, this provides so many tools for training, for just ongoing, hey, what are the allergies in this dish? It really ties the whole operation together versus your traditional just thinking about inventory as only sort of back of the house and chefs and cooks that are involved with this. Whether you're talking about the notes feature and just there's so many things that really tie this all together. And it's not a one-dimensional tool. It really provides everything that you need to run across the operation. So I love it. I wish this was around 10 years ago when I was running restaurants. So you know, I think with that, I just want to, you know, if there's no other questions that we haven't been able to address,
Yeah,
you know, we can.
I have one.
Oh.
How can
Sure.
customers take advantage of the offer? What do we want them to do if they want to take advantage of the offer?
Just reach out to
Ideally,
us. So these emails here, yeah, either myself or James, just reach out to us, and we'll set up a call with you, and that's the best way to take advantage of it.
Or can they contact their GoTab account manager too?
yes.
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. And then in terms of questions, there were several other fairly detailed questions that came in, and we'll try to follow up and answer them. And of course, if you have any further questions, you can always reach out to everyone here as well as info@gotab.io. But thank you guys. This was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to speaking with you and hopefully setting you up an Opsi account.
Yeah. Appreciate the time, everyone. Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.